the short story for the first time. I read it in April 2020, so we were just a month into the COVID lockdown, and I questioned whether I could even finish it when I first started the story because it hit so close to home. And I felt like the world was ending right outside the window back then. And so I didn't know that I wanted to keep reading. It was so dark. But I was compelled to because of the way the characters were reacting to that moment and to this interesting quiet acceptance that was on the page. What amazed me was where I was at the end of the story. Given how I felt reading those first couple of chapters, if you would have told me that I would have ended the story with tears on my cheeks, but out of joy and optimism and hope and wanting to look back at my life a little differently, I never would have believed it. It was such an incredible journey. And I think that's because Stephen King intuitively, he combines the darkness and the light so beautifully. One can't exist without the other, and they only enhance each other in his work. And so this really had a big impact on me because of that.
Was that something that, Tom and Chuta, was that something that attracted you to the material, the sense of I guess, light punching up through the darkness, or the sense of just hope in what are rather hopeless circumstances? And one could argue, I mean, one guy's facing certain death, and the other is facing certain death. There's a lot of certain death in this film. So, but yet, it's really about how you accept it. It's really about how you face that.
I don't want to sound morbid, but I think about death all the time. By which I mean, like, any contemplation, like this film, any contemplation of mortality inspires a deeper appreciation of life. And I found that's what this story did, is it made me appreciate my life and what was precious and of deep value to me. And it connected with something very personal. I remember I was about 14 years old when I saw The Shawshank Redemption, another Stephen King adaptation that really hit me in my heart. And at the end of that film, we've talked about this, Red, as played by Morgan Freeman, nearly decides not to live. He's like, I can't take it on the outside. And the choice in the film, as presented by King and as presented by Frank Darabont and Tim Robbins and Morgan Freeman, those amazing actors, is get busy living or get busy dying. And at the end of that film, Red decides to live, and he decides to take the bus and go to Sewataneo and see his friend, because that's the only thing that matters. And that friendship and that love and that human connection is what remains. And it lands so resolutely on the side of life that I found intensely moving, and still do. And when I read Mike's screenplay, I had the same feeling. That for Marty at the end of days, as the stars are going out in the sky, or Chuck at the end of his life, surrounded by love, in consideration of the passage of time and the events of his own life, it's life and love that remains. It's not the darkness. And that, to me, is really all we need. It's all we've ever needed. I find it very moving.
I mean, absolutely. You know, the only thing I can add to that really is that was the sense of that these characters are experiencing an enormous amount of gratitude, and that, I think, is the other element of it all. You know, I think that Marty, in Marty and Felicia's relationship, I think that as it comes to, as the stars literally go out, I think that there's a real sense for him of feeling grateful for having that connection, for being able to have experienced these things, have experienced this life, this world, and love, and the person that you're connected to in it. And I think that's what I felt reading it, that all the way through it felt, even in the darker moments of the story, it always felt it's very life affirming in the sense it's a life affirming apocalyptic tale. You know, that it's like that you're like in the center of everything is this feeling of hope, and I think I carried that through what's wonderful about working with Mike and the way that the film sort of came together was that from the moment that I arrived, to make the film, that feeling of optimism and the feeling, the sort of philosophical feeling, was right throughout the entire cast and crew. And everybody who was there felt that they were tuned in to telling this story, and so it allowed for this kind of this sort of 360 immersive experience, which I really cherished because absolutely everybody wanted to tell the story and felt it, and so powerfully. So yeah, it was very hopeful as an experience.